boy. Oh, that. Woo! Scratch everything I just said. I had it all, but now I don't. What's up, Brite Nation? Welcome to the second installment of custom 72-inch Dynatracks in Stepchild 3.0. Now, if you recall, in the first video, we used a rock crawler tower, and I had it all set up, and I explained all the math and geometry. And then I realized that I didn't like what was supplied. Now, the kit was originally designed for a different coilover and bypass. We're going with the Bilsteins. So when we would bump it out and we had all the brackets on and we set it at 5 inches of droop, I didn't like the ride height. It was going to end up being about 2 inches taller than she used to be. What I did was cut the brackets off that were in there, and I know that I wanted about 2 more inches in there. So what I did is I took this and I designed that. Might look similar, but what it does is it drops these 2 points 2 inches from center line of the axles. Well, I had our good friends over at Next Venture cut them out because if you remember, Kevin and Brittany are in Colorado and they're just going to happen to be passing right through there. So they're going to pick those up and they should be here in the morning. We can start getting this thing back together and I can start showing you what all I thought of. One of the things is where the coilover comes into contact with the tower and the axle. From back here, it's going to sit in here like this. And if you notice, that's almost 90 degrees with the lower link. That's pretty good. It's about 4 to 5 degrees off, which is very optimum, which means the valving that's going to be in there and the bypass are going to work very well together. So I didn't want to move this back and rake them back more, which would have accommodated the extra length, but I didn't want to use that. I wanted to keep them as 90 degrees to this lower link as possible so that they are as efficient as they can possibly be. So I know I didn't want to change the tower. I wanted to change how they attach to the axle. Another thing you might be thinking of, now that the shock is going to hang below the axle, not necessarily. It's pretty tangent with the bottom of the axle tube, and if you notice, the lower link is below it too, so it's not going to stick down any farther. One of the other benefits is we're going to take that ram and we're going to pull it off the bottom of the axle tube and put it above the tie rod. Now that's out of the way, so now we don't have a skid plate under there anymore. And if you remember in the last video, I said we're going to be able to move this track bar about 1 inch. I think we're going to move it almost 2 inches because I did flip the bypasses from left to right. The tubes will make it, so now I don't have any compression tubes in the way. I do have the track bar, drag link, tie rod on their way here, so I should get those in a day or two, and then we can really start getting this front end together. This is going to be a jam-packed 5 days because we leave on Sunday, which gives me 5 days to finish this bad boy. Well, good morning, guys. Kevin and Brittany got home late last night, and they are running some errands already this morning, but he did bring me my parts. And here they are. So here's the original one. Now, like I said, they were designed for a different length shock body, so these would have worked with a different shock and coilover, but I had to make something that gave me a little bit more droop. It was about 2 inches in the front and about 1 3/4 in the rear because I know we had some extra length. So what this should do is clock this even more to give me better ratios at the misalignments on the bottom. But here they are. I made it all key together. You get the 2 inside guys, and then this will click onto here, and then you have another bracket. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I'm going to go ahead and get these cleaned up and tacked together so that we can get these in, so that we can have a new bump ratio. Getting close, getting close. Give me another 15, 30 seconds in this video, and we'll have it together. All right, so when I drew these up, I know this is 1.5 inches with the misalignments in the bottom of the shock. So what I did is I made sure that when I put this key in here that I designed it to be off, you know, like 10 thousandths, so that they go together and they'll give you enough room for like paint, because that sucks when you weld these together with this in here and then you weld it and then the weld shrinks and then you can't get the damn things out. And then when you put them on the truck, you have to like file these around the corners and then smash them in with a hammer and a pick. Ask me how I know. So we're gonna test fit these now, and then we'll go back through and I'll weld the bottom caps on, and we'll do a full weld on this thing and they look pretty sexy already. Back in, as you can see, the droop is pretty good. They don't hang too far below the axle, and I got both of the shocks pretty much bottomed out. I am gonna go to full droop real quick to make sure, but we do have clearance back here, so we're not touching the axle back here, so everybody looks good so far. I am gonna go to full droop so that we can set these how they're supposed to be. Voila! Full droop. All right, we got it drooped out. Everybody's happy. I did turn the bypasses, swap the bypasses from left to right. So the rebound tube is inside of this rail, so I'm happy about that. The reason we did that is because it gives us more clearance on this side of the tube for the track bar bracket, which means I can make this even longer, which is beneficial because when you have such a long drag link, you need that track bar to be as long as you can get it to go. Also, we went over that in the last video. You want these 2 points to be parallel to these 2 points, whatever they end up being, so that you don't get much bump steer. The other thing that'll give you bump steer is if the track bar is too short or is shorter than your drag link. So what we do is we move this point over as far as we can. So we'll get into that in a minute. But as you can see, as it goes down, it swings the axle over this way because this radiuses this way. But we're still good because that tube doesn't hit inside of there. We got plenty of clearance, even twist. So what I am going to do is I'm just going to tack these on, and then we're going to go to full bump and just see how these act. Now this is full bump, so this is like all in. He's smashing it over a whoop. I don't know if you can see in there, but the bottom of the compressor, I do have like a finger in between there, so we're good there. All the way over here, we are good. We're clearance the back of the tube. We're not hitting any of the rebound tubes. Everybody's still happy. There's still a little bit of twist in here, which means it's not bound up. Misalignment looks good on both sides. We have clearance everywhere. This one actually looks better than the front one. I do have this inch, but like I said, you're gonna lose that because this will never travel as far as that. So as long as that has full travel, this guy's just gonna be what it is. This is also a coil carrier. There will be a little bit of valving in there just to help take up the valving in this, but this really doesn't do any shock valving. I'm gonna get Kevin out here and show Kevin what he's got going on, but we are back to where she started. And one more thing while I'm on the topic, because we turn these around, we are at full bump. These tubes are no longer on this side, which means I can cut this back and then still get this point way over here, which is a total benefit. But what we are gonna do now is we are going to articulate it and see how close this will come. Actually, it won't, because then it'll be in front of this tube. So we'll still be great. So I can move that sucker over like 2 inches more. There's clearance everywhere. Track bar mount, AC compressor, oil filter, tubes, axles, everybody, rebound tubes. Everybody's happy.
It's about as stuffed as you can get.
I think it's about as stuffed as it was before, actually. So we're doing pretty good.
It's as stuffed as, it is as stuffed as it was before.
I might actually cut that off still. Shave weight. We're gonna cut that fourth link off the top of this casting. When it comes out and gets welded up, I will cut that off because there's absolutely no need for it.
So if that side drops down, will this not possibly get into the?
Well, we're gonna test all of that now.
Guess what's gonna happen is this pipe right here is gonna hold the axle up right there, and this side's gonna go up while this side stays down. I don't know how much weld you have on the bracket.
Oh, there's no force on them. Oh boy! Woo!
Yeah, I guess you can't come further in, can you?
So this worked out really well. I don't know if you can see it, but that tube clears by like a paper, which is good. We are clear of the rebound tube for sure.
Oh yeah, that goes in the pocket.
It does, and I was afraid it wouldn't, but it does.
It goes in the pocket. That's cool.
We are good there. Everybody else is completely happy. Pretty stoked about that.
We're actually pretty lucky that Chris already got with Rock Crawler, because the tie rod on here, being that these Bilstein bypasses are so big and they're not made for this application, all this is custom. The tie rod at full steer gets into this tube
guy right here.
So this steering wouldn't have worked. Rock Crawler has their new tie rod that they've been testing for jails. It's literally the best on the market, hands down. He's been testing it in his race car for like 2 years now. You'll see it when we get it onto Y, and I think they're The ends are rebuildable for like $20 or something. As they wear out, you can actually screw in to get rid of the slop. You can actually tighten up any of the slop. And then once that adjustment's gone, you just rebuild that. They send you like a new rebuild kit for like $20. And you won't be able to bend the damn thing.
Don't quote him on that yet.
It's 25 bucks, maybe 25. He just posted it on the internet the other day, which is why I know this. I literally saw somebody asking about tie rods.
I am going to move this over 2 inches. That's about what I got.
The only major interference right now is the tie rod hitting this bypass tube. That's the only major, like, oh no, what would we do?
So yeah, we're at 12 inches. So everybody maxes out. We're full stuff here. Full stuff on the coilover back there, as you can see. Doing good. Need that back stuff to show up. All right, well, the next step was easy. Mounting that little bump stop. And then I just cut a piece of square tubing off to make the pad. It's all the way bumped out. You let all the nitrogen out, crush it all the way down. As you can see, the bypasses are crushed all the way down, so everybody's happy. This is like full stuff. I don't know if I should take it all apart now or wait until I get the links, because I still have to make that bracket, and I have to wait for that link to get here to make that bracket. And I need to box that bypass in. So I was talking to Kevin about placement of that bump stop. Now, usually you would want it to bump out in line with your coilover and your bypass. So even when you're in articulation, it still wants to hit that bump. Kevin doesn't want to do that because he really only wants it for high speed. He doesn't want anything to intrude on actual articulation, because we're not going to drop this thing from 25 feet or launch it off of whoops and actually have this come up real fast and hard. That's what she said. So he just wants the bypass in here. It's stronger in here. It's tucked out of the way in here. And this is just for like railing it through the whoops and actually, you know, hitting a ditch or finding something that you didn't expect and it smashes in the front end, and we don't send all these shocks up through there, that we actually use the bump stop. So the bump stop is only there for straight line high speed stuff. That's what we got. So I am still going to gusset that in. I still got to box that into the frame a little bit and make sure I leave enough room so that I can weld these in. When we get that far, I might actually tie them into that. I don't know. Well, I can't because this side has bolts. So I'll just box that into the frame. So that's what I'm going to work on for the rest of the night. Hopefully we get a freight delivery tomorrow for all the rear end stuff so that we can get the rear end going, because I'm pretty much out of stuff to do in the front. I do have to modify one harness, but that's easy. The front diff harness, I'm just going to shorten that up because it's really long right now. The factory one's really long. That's all I got right now. Scratch everything I just said. I had it all, but now I don't.
Because I'm back. Because we're back. All right, look, Chris did a phenomenal job. He made everything work. He cut stuff and moved stuff and shimmed towers. It was going to all go together.
It was going to all go together.
But what happened was... So we had...
mathematically.
Right. So mathematically, we had 10-inch bypasses in here with a limiter removed, which means we had 12 inches. 11 inches. Sorry, 10 inch to 11 inch. Right now, we were just going from a 10 inch to a 12 inch coilover bypass setup. We'll pick up a lot more control, a lot more speed, a lot more suspension, but I'm only gaining 1 inch of down travel to do all, like going through all of this.
Yes.
We're really going from 11 to 12. We could pull the limiter out of that too and go to 13, or we could do it completely over.
As long as we've already gone this far, I'm just going to cut all this right back off. We're going to go a little bit farther.
So the idea here is that we get rid of this. We modify it, or Chris will probably drop a new one. We remove the battery. We raise this ABS block, which we'll show you in a second, and we go 4 inches higher here, which allows us to come 2 inches higher here to bring these brackets.
Because it's too low. I don't like it.
And then we swap to 14-inch coilovers and 14-inch bypasses. That was the idea, but then we were like, crap, we're going to run into drive shaft binds. So we stuck the drive shaft in there, and sure enough, we're running into binds. So we called J.E. Reel, and he was like, here's what I can do. We can put another flange. We can go to bigger U-joints. So now we're going to go from a 10-inch shock, a 10-inch bypass, to a 14-inch coilover and 14-inch bypass. Maybe. I actually haven't talked to Bilstein yet to see if it's even available. So
maybe.
So we have to go 4 inches up here, so we can come 2 inches up here and go from a 12 to a 14, and then that's it. I mean, there's no... Or we leave that down there, lower this, and go to a 16-inch.
Come on, which will be 2 more inches from this.
No, because Phil can cut off the ends and gain us 2 inches. Oh my God, we could go to 16.
Or you just get in a buggy.
That's true. At a certain point, enough is enough. Okay, so that's the new goal. The new goal is to push actually drop it. Let's show them how we're gonna do that.
All right.
I don't want nominal gains here, and I know it's not nominal because it's already pretty awesome, but everything we've been doing, you have to realize, has been on a 10-inch shock. That's nearly like a stock length shock. Like 10-inch?
I don't know what the stock.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. You want to start with the battery area first?
This side is actually the easiest side. This side is going to be the hardest side. This represents the hood height. I have 5 inches of here to the ABS block, so I can raise this ABS block 4 inches and make that tower 4 inches taller relatively easy. I just got to do some cutting and gluing. And
so what's your plan is to like take it and rotate it because it's not going to go.
No, you can't. It has to sit up like this. These lines can be bent down here so that I can get this up here. These two front lines only go that way, so they just kind of float in space, and then the harness. But the harness, I got tons of room in the harness. Cut the bracket, raise the bracket.
What do you mean tons of room in the harness?
What do you mean not tons of room in the harness?
Oh, you have tons of room in the harness. Okay, so this is
this is my yob. This is my yob.
So you know we have the anti-gravity. What's cool is that it comes in and out of here real quick, right? So boop, the battery used to be here. Boop, the battery's gone. This can be mounted.
It's that simple. Boom.
It is.
Boop.
So this could be mounted any way you want, anywhere you want. So in a minute, we're going to show you the idea for this because this has to leave the engine bay. Chris is going to cut this battery box out.
Yeah, which leaves just the battery box. We cut the battery box out, and that tower comes up.
Leaves us room for the tower. See? Reach around. Right there. Then all he has to do is extend the power cable to the back. Well, where we're going to put the battery, I'll show you. And the ground will just come right off the battery right to the chassis. So the new goal is to go, if Bilstein has it, hopefully they have them available. The reason we're doing this is because we're not going to be ready for the Rubicon anyway for Jeepers Jamboree. So now we have like 2 weeks to do all of this, which is like, well, I come in here and I waste days of coming up with new stuff to undo everything we did.
I got to keep him out because he's just like, well, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this.
Well, why didn't you think about this while I was gone? How did you not come up with this when I was gone? What?
Y'all have been in here for like 4 hours just talking.
Well, because part of it is let's just glue it together, put the shit on, and be done. This is the stepchild. It needs to be the baddest MFer out there, and I haven't seen anybody do that other than once they roll it and they, you know.
Turn it into a buggy.
Hey, why are you stopping at the hood? I mean, we can cut hoops into the.
Stop.
Hey, let's get some 24-inch ORIs, and we'll just put them up here. We'll get some 54s under there. We'll get a drop box, and we'll build a monster Jeep out of it.
No. Yes, sorry, Chris. I should have been here for that whole 9 days we were in Colorado. But I think this is the best way to go because this whole rock crawler kit's very cool and it's for your normal person, and that's what we were going to go with. But this isn't a normal Jeep. We're not normal people, and we want to just go to the limit, and this is the only way I know how. We have to relocate the battery. The axle's just strapped with that strap. If that comes loose, we lose a $10,000 axle onto the ground. And so you take your anti-gravity. Follow me. Watch your head. We don't know what we're doing back here yet. We were going to stay with the bypass and the springs, but since we're doing all that up front, I think I'm just going to make Chris cut everything out back here and and do a coilover bypass. But if you look,
this bar will no longer
be here, but this will basically go where this coilover bucket is and just sit directly up there. I was just showing you this because it literally, we can't do it here because the axle and the truss will be here, but it fits right there. So I was showing you that.
And then, it will have the clearance because I know this is where the truss goes to. So the truss usually sits about this high at full stuff. So we should be clear it anyway, but we're going to move it over. Exhaust runs to this side.
Right, which is why this is going here.
Right.
So the front's a lot more work because you have drive shaft bind, you have steering, you have a lot more stuff. Engine bay components. So
and now I think I'm going to move the track bar too. So we might end up cutting the track bar off and moving that forward and out because I can.
I mean, this could go here, maybe.
Remember when I said this could change in an hour?
I don't know. Well, I mean, this could also just go inside in the back compartment.
What?
I'm going to Brittany's seat.
No, thank you.
It could go under your seat.
She already has a stuff under the seat.
Vibrating air compressor.
That was in the Demon.
That was in the Demon Child.
Oh, my bad.
But you have to install one in this one for me now too, because now I'm spoiled.
So we either burn it in, only gain an inch of down travel. I mean, I guess we could just pull the limiter.
Himself in and out of this.
I know, because it could just be done, but we could just pull the limiters out of that and go to 13, leave 12s, go to 13.
We have to pull them out of the coils too.
I don't know. We could just go to 13, and we could just stay a regular, cool, badass Jeep, or we could cut it all up and just make ourselves a whole lot of
But
problems.
we still don't like the droopy droop down bottoms, so we have to go up anyway.
So here's the thing. Look at this. So we could remove the limiter in here, so this 12-inch becomes a 13-inch. Then we still have the problem of the bracket hanging below the axle. Phil Licardi, our shock tuner with Liberty Mountain Fab, he says, no problem. Right here, he can unscrew this clevis, cut this pipe off, and literally weld a cup with just the uniball right to the end of this, which would gain us almost 2 inches, which means we could raise the bracket 2 inches. So technically, we could just modify these by pulling out the limiter, limit strapping it so we never hyperextend it, pull this out, cut this off, and weld a uniball right there. Now we're only missing 1 inch of down travel and don't have to do all of that. And you can burn everything in the way it is.
The options are endless right now.
The only thing, so what he was saying is if you look at the bodies between the coilover and the bypass has like an inch longer body. And I don't know if that's because these don't have limiters in them and these do, which means that we can't pull the limiter out to make this 13 inches of travel.
Pull out a limiter if there's no limiter.
Right. So if this has 13 inches of travel, this doesn't need it because it's on the back side of it's on the inside of the axle.
No, because when we articulated it out currently, those two go to full stuff together.
They do.
Because the third link side changes the caster angle because it droops.
So then even if we did this is going to be limiting us?
Yes. Unless I change the bottom bracket again.
Is all this making sense to you guys, or are we just running through this way too fast? Basically, we can figure it out the way it is and get some extra numbers, or we can redo all of it and get some extra numbers. So we either just keep finagling and modifying and have people cut and weld and do stuff to what we have, and have Chris...
By people.
Well, Chris and Phil.
Oh,
and Phil.
And
He
Phil,
would
yeah,
have to
I would
cut and
have
TIG
Phil's
weld all
stuff,
that.
yeah.
And then Chris can really just mess around with this bottom bracket, because this bottom bracket, everything's just tacked on. So this bottom bracket could still be cut and moved and shaped or redone, and we could just leave that because that's there.
The bump location will not change.
This will stay here.
That will not, it can't change.
This is where the bump stays. So our up travel with all of this doesn't change. This is all looking at more down travel. I want to maximize it. Like if we're going through all this, I want to maximize it. I don't know. What do you guys think I should do? Do we have anybody that's smarter than us in the comments?
Or maybe not even smarter, just more decisive.
Somebody make a decision for
It's
him?
been almost 9 months since I've had the stepchild running. I kind of just want it running, but it's also been down for 9 months. What's another month
weeks
or
or month.
2 weeks? Yeah, because Chris will have it done in 2 weeks for sure.
It better be done for the Jeep invasion in Tennessee.
We could always put it in the trailer and just make it a rolling chassis. No. No. Okay, please comment. I'm going to read all the comments. I'm going to take everybody's comments into consideration. Do I need 14 inches of travel? Actually, we could remove the limiter. We could remove the limiter from the 14s and go 15 inches of travel. Then that's really worth it. Anyway, just comment. I'm going to read them. Brittany and Chris will read them too.
I'll read them too, I promise.
And because right now he's going to have to start on the rear. And we're just going to work on the rear while I worry about the front and read all your comments about the front.
All right. So anyway,
See ya.
we'll see. I got things to do. He's got things to think about. We'll see you later.
Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Remember, you can find all of your Lite Brite Nation merch and decals at litebritstudios.com. We love you, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.